Welcome. My name's Andrew. I'm a Specialist Solutions Architect for End User Compute. And now we're going to talk about Amazon WorkSpaces, moving your desktop's applications to AWS with WorkSpaces and AppStream. What we're going to cover in the next 30 minutes, hopefully, we're going to look at the challenges that we're having today, including audio and video, and whether or not the background falls on my head, why customers are choosing Amazon AWS End User Compute services, an opportunity for you to play along at home. I know I've presented before at E2E sessions. People like to get their hands dirty, so we'll give an opportunity for that to happen. We'll give you an introduction to WorkSpaces, give you an introduction to AppStream too, and given that will be well au fait with the services, some deployment considerations should you wish to build on further. Great to see early on in the day the people from VDI Like Pro talking again about the service, 7th year. Nice to see. Again, we look at the year of VDI. Yes, people have been increasingly working from home, reducing that commute time, being more flexible with how they work, being able to work wherever, whenever. Work is indeed not a place. Encouraging people to work from home. No one likes it when remote working fails. Ask the Dutch, who earlier this year had horrendous traffic jams because of remote working issues. Organizations increasingly looking for a way to work securely, but it hasn't necessarily come mainstream. A lot of organizations struggled with the capability and ability to scale, struggled with how they could provide services. And sometimes it was an institutional consideration. We're not going to let you work from home because we're not entirely sure that we can trust you to work from home, which is a concern because so many people can work remotely, can work on their own devices effectively. Let's call that before COVID, and then COVID happened. And it all got a lot more interesting. Suddenly people had to have a different way of working. Companies had to give people an opportunity to work on different devices. COVID-19 has impacted the way that we work. Yes, we could provide remote access services. Yes, organizations had remote working capabilities, but the scale and speed they needed to deploy was a challenge for a number of organizations. I know from AWS, from a specialist SA working with remote computing, we had a lot of companies, organizations, education establishments, public sector, talking to us in January, February about how they could accommodate a very rapid expansion of their remote working services. Even customers who had existing on-prem environments to accommodate home working, remote working, struggled under the load and capacity and leaned heavily on desktop as a service providers, leaned heavily on services like Amazon WorkSpaces, desktops in the cloud, Amazon AppStream, applications in the cloud. Those are two of AWS's remote working solutions, WorkSpaces, AppStream. There's also WorkDocs, if you were unaware. WorkDocs, secure content collaboration, file sharing services. We've also got Chime, which is a working together meeting service, online collaboration meeting tool. We've got Connect, allowing you to create very rapidly contact centers, and then Client VPN as a service, so you can provide access to your internal resources using services from AWS. I would happily talk about all 6. We've only got 30 minutes, so I'll focus on WorkSpaces and AppStream over the course of this session. We've got both a recorded video because no one wants to be like that guy in Rome, and also a live video because, hey, maybe let's just give it the one. Play along at home, Andrew. You said we'd be able to play along at home. How can we play along at home? Well, here's 2 links to getting started guides. I know a couple of you have got in touch with me in the past. Really interested in what it is that you said, Andrew. There are a couple of you who have said that. How can I set up my own environment? Is there an option for doing this easily? Yes. So there's 2 links on the screen at the moment, so you can make use of a WorkSpaces lab, the WorkSpaces Getting Started guide. That'll guide you through setting up a WorkSpaces environment for you to play with, interact with, get a feeling for if you've not used WorkSpaces before. And there's a similar one for AppStream as well. Both of those make use of AWS's free tier, so that's free for an amount of time. Bear in mind that for WorkSpaces, there is a offer at the moment that lasts through until the end of June, so there's still a chance to make use of it. Up to 50 workspaces for free workspaces for use if you do have that requirement, but you can take part in both of these labs. While the session is ongoing, I trust you to multitask. While this session is ongoing, you can have a look at workspaces, have a look at AppStream. Please do, feel free. And if you've got any questions, I can take them at the end, or we can take them offline through your learnings. One thing to consider though, when you are setting this up, yes, there are multiple regions for workspaces. Yes, there are multiple regions in AWS, but what does a region mean? A region, bless you, a region is a group of highly available availability zones. For AWS, a region is a group of data centers, is a group of availability zones, not just an individual data center. So when you're creating your AppStream environment, when you're creating your workspace environment through those lab guides, you'll be making use of 2 different subnets in 2 different availability zones. So spreading your desktop as a service, application as a service, services across multiple data centers as you build out. What's an availability zone? Is it really a data center? Yes, fully isolated infrastructure, unique power, not built close together, far apart. So multiple data centers make up a region. One region is not one data center. So, Andrew, workspaces. While I'm downloading this guide and running it through, tell me something while I'm waiting for the documents to be available. What you're going to be creating if you were using that getting started guide is an environment very similar to what you're seeing on the screen now. You've got services available within your virtual private cloud in AWS within your account. Workspace as a service, so Workspaces will take care of the authentication of users, will take care of the streaming. You don't need to set up a control plane or brokering or anything like that. You just need to set up a workspace. So you'll set up an Active Directory. Workspaces requires an Active Directory. Maybe that's a simple AD or a managed AD with AWS, or you could use an Active Directory connector to connect back to your own Active Directory within your data center, or maybe you're using as your directory services. Use an Active Directory to connect to those. Then you can focus on creating a workspace and provisioning that to users. Each workspace, you'll notice, has 2 network cards, one in the managed service environment, that's where the streaming traffic goes out, and one into your own environment where you can determine which resources that workspace interacts with. All streaming traffic is going across the internet. Initial authentication via SSL, secured, and then using PC over IP with a Workspaces client. There are a range of Workspaces clients, a Windows client, a Mac client, clients for Chromebook. I know the Parallels team was talking about that earlier on today. Web clients as well. And yes, if you've got a Samsung DeX, you can make use of the Samsung DeX as well, given that there's an Android client and an iOS client as well. Do I need a whole new set of tooling, Andrew, in order to interact with my workspaces? Given that the workspace environment, you have a network interface onto your virtual private cloud that can be connected back to your environment, either via a VPN or via Direct Connect. From your workspace, you could interact with your intranet, obviously an Active Directory service. Workspaces requires Active Directory services in order to work and operate. Multi-factor authentication, so we would recommend multi-factor authentication for those remote users, 2-factor authentication to ensure that the user is who they say they are, a range of services that will support that. It's radius-based at the moment. There is documentation blogs on integrating with Azure multi-factor authentication. How would you patch, how would you manage and maintain? If you're using tools like SCCM or BigFix or WSUS, you can use those today with Workspaces. Workspaces, yes, have a Windows option. There's also a Linux option too, so different methodologies. If you are up and about after your park run tomorrow at 9 o'clock, come listen how you can configure and manage a Amazon Linux environment, typically for developers. And yes, you can make use of your own certificate authority. Obviously, as an AWS employee, I make use of Workspaces. We use Workspaces for a variety of things. What you see in front of you, if you've ever been is a reInvent training, so cloud practitioner, so exam session. In those sessions, you'll notice multi-monitors, those are all 0 clients accessing workspaces to deliver all of those instances. That's managed and maintained by colleagues on the team. Great advantage of cloud services, managed desktop as a service, is you can stand resources very quickly, which has been vitally important for a number of organizations as they respond to the COVID crisis. But also you can tear it down. If you don't need it tomorrow, you don't have to have it stood up tomorrow. Going back to Jim and Benny's session, yes, you want to be able to scale it quickly, but you also need to be able to scale back quickly in order to be most cost effective in the use of your desktop as a service, application of a service delivery. A couple of things that we learned from that. Yes, we can deploy at scale very rapidly. Customers' experience is great, but also the good people at hotels don't like it when you fly a drone in their ballroom. So learnings all round. Are there APIs? Yes, there are APIs. APIs and CLIs for Amazon Workspaces and for AppStream as well. So pretty much anything you can do in the console, you'll be able to drive and manage using an API. Why is that important, Andrew? It's important because it assists with automation, with reducing the effort of the IT teams to manage an environment and put some control to end users and business departments so that they've got a greater autonomy in what it is that they do rather, and greater autonomy for you as an IT team to focus on delivering great value to users. Can I use PowerShell? Of course you can use PowerShell. Here's a relatively simple PowerShell command, interacting with the workspace service to get all of the workspaces and then understand the connection set. Maybe I'm going to put that into a CSV file. I'm going to import that into another management environment. Great range of tooling available to you to automate your workspaces environment. It's also consideration of costs. I know that we've had a number of conversations at various E2E events, as well as Benny and Jim's earlier session, about how you can manage the cost of a desktop as a service, application as a service. WorkSpaces has a cost optimizer. So WorkSpaces operates in one of 2 modes. You can either be paying for your workspace hourly, or you can pay for the workspace monthly. Cut off for hourly to monthly is about 80 hours. If you're going to use it for more than 80 hours, more cost effective to be running that in a monthly mode. The cost optimizer monitors your workspace environment and then reports or potentially automatically switches workspaces for you at the end of the month, so that if a workspace has been used a lot, so that the use case of that user suggests that they're going to be using the workspace for more than 8 hours, it'll switch the workspace. Likewise, if you've got someone who's using the service intermittently, it'll switch the workspace from always on to hourly, again, with a focus on cost optimization for that desktop as a service. Would recommend that if you're deploying at scale, you consider deploying WorkSpaces Cost Optimizer in your environment. In fact, let's have a look at those PowerShell pieces. Let's see how wrong this can go. We're doing it live. I don't normally do it live. Normally I video this, but hey, there was that one time when even the video failed, so they were fun times. What I have here, I have stolen from my colleague. He gave it to me, so it's not as rich as it sounds. All of the tooling, the PowerShell scripts that the team who deploys those desktops for reInvent, how they build out rapidly an environment. So it has been used at reInvent, but also the summits when we did do live events where we could actually go and shake people's hands without wearing masks. Here's a list of those. What it's doing is taking in a CSV file, user list here. Yes, I am showing you the password for all of my virtual users, but it's a default environment. So that's all cool, giving you a user ID and a home directory that's used to create users within that directory. So if we consider for that particular event, I want to stand up things quickly, deploy all of my workspaces quickly, let users interact with them, and then tear it all down. So here's where we're creating all of the users in Active Directory, because Active Directory is a requirement. And then what you can do is use that Active Directory environment to start creating workspaces. So here's a very simple command. What it's doing is cycling through all of the users in the script and then creating them a new workspace. A new workspace in a region of my choice for a particular directory, for a particular bundle. So Workspaces by default has a Windows 10 experience. You can have a custom bundle that also includes Office and some antivirus, or you can have a phone call from your mum. Don't forget to fill in the survey, mum. So you can create custom bundles with the applications already defined. And in a region of your choice, a number of regions for Workspaces, select the workspace that's nearest to your users. It's this type of flexibility and automation that has allowed a lot of our customers during COVID to spin up rapidly workspaces to support their workspace, to support their workforce or their students. We have had a number of customers who've gone from 50 or 100 users, because that's general remote working, to 1,500, 5,000, multiple thousands of users over the course of a weekend as they deliver resources to people who are working at home during a crisis. What does that look like in real life? What does it look like in Active Directory? Here's my console. Let's have a look at the workspaces. So I've run the workspaces there, and errors occurred because it's timed out. Here's me think I could speak fast enough, but apparently not. So here's my workspaces console. See all the workspaces that I've got created. It's been created as a standard instance. It's available for use. Happy, happy days. But if I look in my Active Directory environment, here's the users that were created. As you can see, in great anticipation, I created them last night. And here's the workspaces that have been created. I've configured my environment to put workspaces into a specific OU within my Active Directory. Maybe I've got group policies being applied to those Windows instances. That's great. But it's not very descriptive of the workspace. If I want to do some troubleshooting, or I want to offer this to the support team, whose workspaces, tell you what we'll do. We'll take that information from the workspaces environment, put that into Active Directory. You listening for the drum roll as well? Yeah, so am I. I've forgotten I didn't have one, so we'll just give it a whirl, shall we? Oh, awesome. Crash and burn, come on. There we go. So what it's doing now is querying the environment. Oh no, it's not. No. Oh well, I'll be that guy in the digital team. Let's see what we did here. Oh, no, that should have just worked. See what I did? I tested it and removed. Oh, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's do this. Why is it taking so long, Andrews? What it's doing is it's validating my user against the backend environment, and that's just taking a time. And why is it taking the time, Andrews? Because I'm doing it as a live demo, and so I forgot to sacrifice the chicken and drink the blood of my enemies, and so it's just failing on me. Tell you what, we're going to move on from that and just show you the code, see what's happening. What it's doing is querying the workspaces environment, getting the workspace information, assigning that to the property, so it would assign it to the description, and then that would be super awesome, and you'd be well impressed, as opposed to quietly putting your head on the table like I would be doing and wishing this never happened. Still, we'll segue on, we'll get that in the edit, it'll be fine. Let's talk about AppStream instead. AppStream, so what AppStream is that delivering individual applications to end devices? Yes, but it's not installing them. It's treating that application remotely. It's running that application in the AWS environment and just presenting the screen updates, taking the keyboard and mouse, but running individual applications rather than presenting the users with a full desktop environment. it's been said to me, is that very much like published applications in Citrix? Very much like published applications in Citrix, if that's how it lets you get your head around the concept. Lots of customers making use of AppStream because they don't necessarily want to give a full desktop environment. They just need to give access to key applications, key services within their AWS environment for end users, be that on whatever device it is. Maybe it's a Chromebook using a browser, maybe it's a PC, maybe it's a Mac device. Use AppStream to deliver those services. We're also getting a lot of software vendors who would historically have sent out a CD, required a download, who are making use of AppStream to create a pre-configured environment that users can readily and easily make use of. Like the vendor who is offering applications that were typically installed on a Windows device. They were getting a number of customers who were asking them about being able to make use of that training facility, training capability on a Chromebook, on a Linux environment. By making use of AppStream, they could create a Windows environment with their application installed in it, and then offer that to end users via a browser. You can SaaSify your Windows application by using AppStream. Applications as a service. You can scale that environment as user demand requires, and then scale it back in as that requirement drops off. Here's what the AppStream environment looks like from a network flow point of view. I've got my users in their particular location. Maybe it's an on-premise environment, maybe it's working from home. They're going to connect to the AppStream service. Connected to the AppStream service, you're going to connect to a streaming gateway authentication service, and given that it's a managed service, that's nothing that you have to stand up. You'll log on and connect to your environment, create your AppStream image, assign that to a fleet, and then users can start interacting with the service. You don't have to create the control plane. AppStream is delivering a non-persistent environment. It's an instance that's created for the user, an individual instance. User logs on and consumes that instance, and when they log off, that instance is destroyed. What happens about user settings? Android. User settings can be persisted. There's a capability of saving user profile settings and giving users access to a home folder stored on S3. It's all presented within the AppStream environment. It's part of the service. You can also integrate with Google Drive and with OneDrive if you want to store your documents there. The thing with AppStream is WorkSpaces does require Active Directory. AppStream can integrate with an Active Directory if you're making use of domain resources, but it doesn't need an Active Directory. So great, especially in that independent software vendor environment where you don't necessarily want an Active Directory. Maybe you're managing users in a different identity provider. Don't want to have the extra complexity of Active Directory. Don't need it with AppStream. SAML provision, SAML authentication allows you access to the service. Don't need Active Directory in order to deliver those Windows applications. There's a range of instance families. So with WorkSpaces, there's a range of instance types that can suit different user needs. With WorkSpaces, one workspace per user provisioned in advance. With AppStream, there's a range of AppStream instances with a wider range of instances, especially in the graphics instances. AMD and NVIDIA instances available, some really large memory optimized instances. Maybe you're doing some data science work and need a large amount of memory for manipulation of data. Range of options in AppStream environment to deliver those specific application requirements for that application at that time that the user needs it, without that resource being available and costed to the end user all the time. So if I'm doing some work and need graphics instances for a short amount of time, why pay for the cost of a graphics instance all the time when you only need it for some of the time? Pay for the memory optimization all of the time when you only need it for some of the time. AppStream, great for delivering that capability. What type of graphics instances are available in AppStream, Andrew? Useful question. We've got a range, graphics desktop all the way through to graphics pro. Yes, we have AMD, GPU vendors and NVIDIA as well. Instance memory from 8 gig all the way up to 488. Is that 488 gig with 16 to 64 vCPU available on the free tier, Andrew? It is not. That is a costed item, but you can have a look at how AppStream works using the free tier and the documentation that you saw at the top of the environment. How wrong could this go? I don't know. Let's find out together, shall we? Badly. That's how wrong that can go. Where's my mouse gone? Hello, hello. Oh, that's good. Oh, hooray. Awesome. So here I'm using the Windows client. So why am I using the Windows client? Well, I'd like to demonstrate you as a feature that came out with AppStream earlier on this year, which is native application mode. Here I'm signing on to my channel provider, in my case, AWS single sign-on, and I'm accessing a range of AppStream instances that I have access to. Those instances have different sets of applications on. This particular demo instance has a number of graphics applications as well as some browsers. What I'm going to do is log on and show that I'm actually running my Firefox instance from the availability zone in the region of Dublin. So yes, I've logged on. It's taken a little while to log on. Here I have edited down for the purpose of fitting it into half an hour. Here you can see in the bottom corner here that I'm using a local browser. So I'm going to ask where I am in the local browser, and it's going to tell me that I am in Sunderland. And if it doesn't, someone swap the videos out. There we go, marvelous. So my local browser, when I had access to that, is giving me Sunderland, but here in my native application mode, I've launched that from AppStream. It's coming down, looking if it's a window locally. You can see that it's on the menu bar. When I ask where I am there, I'm coming out of Dublin. Why? Because that application is running in the AppStream environment. Here's some different applications here. I am going to log in as a user into an environment that is Active Directory joined. What's interesting with Active Directory joined instances is, yes, I can have multiple applications in an AppStream environment. I can present all of those applications to a user. But you know and I know that sometimes you want to put all of applications into an image, but not every user needs all of those applications. Maybe you want to exclude them. When an AppStream instance is in a domain environment, you can use dynamic application provision to only present applications that are assigned to the user using Active Directory groups. So in this case, I don't have all of the applications, I just have a few. Yeah, I'll do the same shenanigans again. I will ask where it is that I'm going. Look, I can cut and paste between the environments. So I can cut and paste between my local application. Can you turn that off? Absolutely, you can turn that off. That's in your remit. Here you can see from this command window, I'm running an AppStream session, got various AppStream session information available to me because I have allowed this particular user access to the command prompt. And then one last, might this go wrong, Andrew? Hey, I think we've shown that yes, things can go wrong, but there are instances where the native application mode doesn't present itself. Here I am running on a client with a very large screen, large DPI, needs some graphics capability. Some of the standard instances for AppStream, the most cost-effective instances, don't have that graphic capability, and when presented with a large screen, don't have the graphic capability to be able to manage the windows in the native application mode. If that happens, then the default will happen, which is to present it within a window, within the AppStream window. So here it's within the AppStream client, it's not being presented as a application in native mode. If that happens to you, you can troubleshoot that. If users are saying, hang on, the application was meant to be native and it's not, you can look in the application streaming client's logs and look for the fact that, hey, look, I was trying to present this and it's gone wrong because the backend capability isn't available. Useful thing with cloud services is it's very easy for you to change how applications, how desktops are presented to end users by changing the instance type. Don't necessarily have to wait for hardware to be provisioned. That's already part of the service that's available to you. You just switch out what it is that you need and present that different instance type for the application that you need to deliver to. Cool. Let's do that. Now let's do this. So you can try WorkSpaces and AppStream today. As I mentioned earlier on, if you've got a requirement for WorkSpaces, a number of WorkSpaces are free through to the end of June, up to 50. If you've not used your account before, or make use of the free tier. Windows 7, you've left Windows 7 on there, Andrew. Is Windows 7 still available? No, it is not, because obviously end of support happened, so it's Amazon Linux and Windows 10 experience only. AppStream is delivered on server operating systems. That's 2012 R2 all the way through to 2019. Which one should I choose, Andrew? It's entirely up to you. What does your application need? Which is the most appropriate operating system environment for your app? Choose that one, deliver that one across a range of different application instance types. And I thank you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your perseverance. And I thank you for filling in Friday's survey. It just mentioned food in there. I couldn't work out a way of putting it out. So what did you have for lunch? Did you enjoy it? By all means, drop me a line. If there are any questions, and I think they are, it's probably my mum saying, why didn't you answer the phone when I rang you? But we'll see if there's any others.
Yeah, I just assigned a question to you.
Cool.
I can read it out for you.
That would be most helpful.
So it's Microsoft seems to be going the path of MSIX app attached for the app delivery to the desktops and hosts. What does AWS offer or recommend?
Do you know what? Listening to Tim's presentation on that, it seems as if that is going to be a very useful way for Windows applications to, or software vendors to deliver application into Windows environments. I will be taking back to the service team for WorkSpaces and AppStream for their Windows clients how we could best accommodate that new delivery type. It is a key ask of a number of customers. How can I easily and readily put applications into WorkSpaces, put applications into AppStream? It would be nice to have a very clean way of doing that, a more clean way of doing that in being able to very quickly configure applications, maybe build that into a service catalog. Does that negate the need for WorkSpaces? Does it negate the need for AppStream? It can do, but also bear in mind that AppStream, WorkSpaces are both delivering services that allow you to operate in a secure environment. So maybe your application data is held in AWS or held securely on your network, and you want to be able to provide remote applications. Yes, the ability to install the application very quickly, rapidly on your own device is useful, but now the data is on your own device as well. So let's abstract that, put it into an environment. Maybe let's abstract that and put it into an environment where it's got greater memory capability, where it's got greater graphics capability, all useful in that managed environment. But I still need to be able to manage applications. And I think if there's a more ready way to deliver that, I'm all for it. It's a constant ask from customers. How can we best manage our application environments? Ideally, they've got an application delivery methodology that can work in their desktop as a service environment on their existing estate. If we can reduce complexity, that's a great thing. I look forward to it being more widely adopted for Windows applications. Does that help? I'm going to say yes, on the assumption that it did. And you can always ask again.
All right, well, I see there's another question, but I'm not really sure whether it's on the topic. All right, so if you have any questions for Andrew,
by all means, drop me a line. My Twitter handle is there. Your survey feedback is there. Yes, if you put in an email address, I will indeed. Yes, T-shirt, mug, stickers, put them all in a box, send them out. I'll contact you directly. We'll pick a name out of the hat. I thank you for your time and hopefully see you tomorrow. Do stick around. It's been great content so far. I'm sure there'll be great content to come. Alex, thanks for your time.